What if one day you arrived at your office and found it completely underwater? The ground turned to mud, cars stuck, and a giant tanker parked in what used to be the driveway. You'd probably think, is this a prank? A disaster? Or something even bigger? Well, in today's unbelievable story, this wasn't an accident. It was a perfectly planned revenge by a man everyone underestimated. And trust me, you're going to love how he did it. Intro: The calm before the storm. This story takes place in a peaceful countryside, where a farmer lived and worked for years. His land was right next to a newly built corporate office, shiny glass walls, expensive cars, and people in suits walking around like they owned the place. At first, everything was fine. The farmer minded his business. But slowly, things started to change. The office staff began using his land as if it were theirs, parking cars, dumping waste, and sometimes even holding outdoor meetings near his fields. He tried to speak up. He went to the building manager, filed complaints, asked politely. But every time, he was brushed off with fake smiles and empty promises. "We'll take care of it." But they never did. To them, he was just a farmer, someone they didn't have to take seriously. The straw that broke the camel's back. One day, things went too far. The company brought in heavy machinery to build a temporary parking lot right on his land. They didn't even ask. That was it. The farmer had reached his limit. And instead of shouting or fighting, he did something smarter. He started planning. Quietly. Carefully. Patiently. The master plan. He began digging a wide trench along the border of his land, the area right next to their office. People saw him working, but no one asked questions. After all, he was just digging. What could possibly go wrong? But what they didn't know was that the trench was being shaped into a large pond. He studied the slope of the land, checked the rainfall patterns, and timed everything perfectly. Then, when the rainy season started, the magic began. The pond filled with rainwater. The soil loosened. The edge of the office ground, the one built partially on his land, started to sink. Slowly, what used to be a dry pathway turned into a muddy, slippery mess. The day of chaos. Then came the big day. Employees showed up to work like any normal morning. But what they saw shocked them. The driveway had vanished under murky water. Cars that were parked overnight were half submerged. The whole area looked like a swamp, wet, dirty, and completely unusable. And there, standing proudly at the edge of the field, was the farmer, arms crossed, calm as ever, watching the mess unfold. Someone tried to confront him. But he simply pointed to the signboard, "Private property. Enter at your own risk." The reaction? Panic spread through the office. Managers called the police, legal teams were summoned, and contractors were hired. But every investigation led to the same conclusion. The farmer had done nothing wrong. The land was his. The digging was legal. The water came from rain. And the swamp? Well, that was just nature doing its job. He didn't break the law. He just let the law and the weather work in his favor. The aftermath. The company had no choice but to move. They relocated their parking, reinforced their boundaries, and started treating the farmer with a whole new level of respect. And that's how a single man, with no money, no lawyers, and no threats, managed to teach a billion-rupee company the lesson of a lifetime. Moral ending. This story is not just about revenge. It's about dignity. It's about how calm, patience, and intelligence can be more powerful than shouting or fighting. It reminds us that no matter how big or powerful someone may seem, you should never walk over others, especially those who stay silent. Because sometimes, the quietest people have the loudest answers.